Yo, I'm live here in motherfucking Costa Rica. It's pretty hot. I got pretty burnt up yesterday. Can't really tell. I didn't really tell until I was. It was like I was itchy like on my neck, on my chest, on my back. I didn't even really know what hit me until it was too late. Un momento. All right. Cool. Well, the topic of the conversation of the video is psilocybin and dealing with the death of a loved one. I definitely have experience, personal experience with this. Pretty fresh. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I put how my dad just passed away. And it's like losing any loved one in your life, in the physical realm, or just breaking up with someone and going separate ways. It's kind of like a similar pain, like, man, I may not ever get to see them again, or in this case, I'm not going to be able to see him ever again in the physical, which can be heartbreaking, a lot of emotions coming through. So I wrote some notes down so I don't just blabber and go off on tangents. Agua. So yeah, some of you are probably can probably relate to the this topic. And before I get into things, I just wanted to say that I always say this for every topic I mention with psilocybin. It's not the end all be all. It's just one tool of achieving a desired result. So I'm definitely not saying you have to, and I'm not saying this is the only way. This, for me, is something that I use medicinally and spiritually. So I want to just share ways in which I do that. I've talked about sex and psilocybin. I've talked about why to grow psilocybin mushrooms for personal consumption. And then here I am talking about death, coping with the death of a loved one, or dealing with the death of a loved one. So, if you're not on top of the on top of the what's going on, what's hot with psilocybin around the world, like legally and just different studies, let me just briefly go over a little bit of what's going on in the globe as far as what different universities and hospitals are doing with psilocybin. So in 2016, Johns Hopkins University did a series of tests with terminally ill patients, cancer patients, to alleviate depression and anxiety. So they dosed them up with like a trained psychotherapist nearby, and they made sure these were not patients that are susceptible to I'm spacing on the word, but they made sure that the people who are taking it don't already have psychological disorders that could fuck them up. They picked people that were pretty much, aside from the fact that they're dying, were pretty okay mentally. It's just the fact that they're dying that makes them sad and anxious, and yeah, I definitely felt those things with my dad, being so connected to him. So yeah, they had great results. Johns Hopkins University, 2017. London's Imperial College did similar studies, and this year, next month, in Melbourne, uh, Melbourne St. Vincent Hospital is about to do similar studies. And as far as I know, the dosages they used were fairly low, almost at the microdose level. But even that's enough to warrant a huge psychological shift, spiritual shift, to make people just okay, ready for the next phase, for birth. Death is birth. Death is another way of being born. So yeah, that's the studies are out there. You could go and Google this and find tons of information, tons of results that are beneficial. And yeah, I just wanted to relay that information. So it took about a year. It was last May, so a little less than a year, that I learned that my dad had stage 4 liver cancer. And you know he went through all the steps. I don't know him off the top of my head. I know it's like denial. I can only remember denial and acceptance, but I know there's a few more in there. Anyone that hops on, feel free to throw that down there for my enlightenment. But yeah, and in that time, I was able to get about three good trips in. Just the other day, like the day or two before he passed, I had some really nice mushroom chocolate from Guatemala, and that was like so beautiful. The way I think it was cacao that was used. The way the cacao interacts with the psilocybin, it hits you very strong. I don't know if it's a MAO inhibitor. It could be, and that is the reason why it comes on a little stronger. But oh yeah, it was so nice. It came on quick, and like the closed-eyed visuals were on point. And even that alone, I wasn't really. I mean, I guess I was. There was not a lot of deep consideration about my father. It was more like it was very accepting. I was in a very accepting state of mind. And I mean, I guess that in itself was a form of preparation for what I was about to go through when the day after figuring out my dad passed, or 2 days after. So yeah, aside from the mushroom chocolate, I was fortunate enough to sit down with the shrooms, eat about an eighth to 5 grams, 3 separate times throughout this past, I would say like 10 months, 11 months. And the number one similarity from all these journeys was just feeling the emotions around his passing. So my dad had been an alcoholic his entire life. I want to get that sun out of the way. That sun shining. He's been an alcoholic his entire life, like growing up. It was kind of, I'm grateful he never hit me or raped me or any nasty shit like that. If anything, he was more on the level of neglect. He tried his best, but he had these demons that he was working with or not working with, he was the slave of. And it took away from the experience as a child. I wanted that fucking treehouse that I never got it. And so even now I feel these like kind of these emotions of being a little bitter, being a little bit upset about it. There we go. So yeah, that was definitely one of the emotions I felt, just anger, like my inner child felt like I deserved a better dad, a dad who is more loving, a dad that I am right now for my kids. And so yeah, I think I was reflecting a lot on my anger and disappointment in him. And the mushrooms, they brought up these emotions in a really quick way. So, like I said before, you could definitely feel these emotions. I could feel these emotions on my own. But I'm I'm just the kind of person that it takes me a minute to get through them. It might be all day where I'm feeling like over one thing, one emotion. And you know, that's why I really appreciate psilocybin mushrooms, because it's like they draw it out of me like a syringe drawing something out of drawing liquid or drawing blood. Um, they just help these emotions bubble up to the surface to this point where I'm like, okay, I gotta feel it, and I just start bawling. I don't really have words in those moments. It's more of just a deep, deep feeling of whatever it may be. Other emotions that I dealt with were sadness. Sadness that because I saw his true potential. There was times when he wasn't drinking, he'd be sober for like a day or so, and man, I love that man so much because he was always down to help people that needed help, no matter what they look like or what position they're in. He's just ready to be of service. Um, Super loving, super loving. He loved the shit out of me. He loved the shit out of me and my sister, my brother. Highly intelligent. He was a very smart person. I would trip out on him reading books. Like the way he would like get in with his drinking. He would crack open a book and just devour it. In one afternoon, I remember I was working real hard to get through that third Harry Potter book when it came out. It was all thick. I was like 12, I don't know. And and I came home and he was like, "Oh man, that was a good book." And he just started it like that morning. I was like, "What the hell, Pop? Did you do anything else today?" And he was just that kind of person, just absorbing information. And so I saw his potential. I saw his higher self, let's put it that way. And his entire life, I always wanted him to be that person, constantly. Because when he'd drink, he'd just get shitty. Cracking jokes that weren't really funny. Talking shit on people, it wasn't funny, it was just rude. You know, fucking up food in the kitchen. Oh man, shout out to my buddy Doug. Do you remember those potatoes? The fucking French fries that he tried to cook up that were barely cooked? So like half cooked potatoes and some ketchup. That shit was horrible, but we were cracking up. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of disappointment, and I had to release that. That shit came up. The mushrooms brought that up and allowed me to feel it, but not hold on to it. I'm not disappointed in him anymore. I'm proud of him because he did the best he could with what he had. That's another thing. These mushrooms, psilocybin helped me gain compassion for him and where he's at. I was able to gain deep compassion. It wasn't necessarily, I wasn't the focus. I was like looking at everything from, I guess the term would be, an objective point of view, not subjective. Not me being the kid that has the shitty dad and didn't get what he wanted growing up. No. It was like the mushrooms are like, look at it from your higher self point. Look at it from a point where you could truly understand what the fuck went down. And I did. The greatest thing that I appreciate about these 3 different journeys was feeling my emotions but not holding back. So, in this culture as a male, we're grown up to not feel our emotions. We're raised, I should say, to not feel our emotions. There was not a lot of encouragement. Shout out to my mom, Gloria, because she always said, feel your emotions. Feel them, cry it out. And so like, as an adult, I'm always, feeling emotions. I'm always crying. But I think it's a good thing, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not embarrassed. But sometimes I do, even though I was raised that way, thankfully, there's still something that wants to hold back sometimes. I don't know. I got to work on that. I got to go deeper into that and really figure that out. But for me at this stage in my life, that's why I appreciated psilocybin, because it helped me just let it all out right there in that moment, not giving a fuck who is next to me. Usually I think twice I was alone, and then one time there was like 2 other ladies aside from my wife. And so I was by myself a couple of times. Even then, there's still like this resistance to truly going in deep. Maybe because it hurts so much, to feel that broken heart feeling fucking sucks. It makes me want to drink alcohol, but that's definitely not the way to deal with it. So yeah, I'm very grateful for the mushrooms for have drawn out these emotions and like put them right there in the forefront of my psyche to just deal with. And another beautiful part about it is it's not like an all-day thing. The mushroom journey is like 5 to 6 hours. But in the moment, when I'm feeling these emotions, within minutes, it was like the weight dissipated. And just because it was quick, just because it was efficient, does not mean it was superficial or vain. I didn't like, okay, I feel them, let's put that away. No, I really fucking cried it out. And I really went deep into those emotions and my thoughts. The way psilocybin has an effect on your brain, it like opens all the doors, so to speak. So all memories and all parts of your brain are like open up, ready to be connected and like categorized, if you will. So there was no holding back. And I'm super grateful for that. Because now that he's passed, I'm grateful. I'm not saying that things won't come up where I'm going to be feeling it again. That's part of life. That's part of the journey of healing. These heavy emotions will come up again. You might find yourself crying on the couch once a year, or whatever it does, whatever it takes to get you to release and let go of those heavy emotions. Because even though you're feeling them, they're not you. Who we are, our soul, our spirit, ever shining and always existent. And so, when those feelings come up, it's important that we let them go. So that's one of the things that psilocybin greatly helped me out with, is letting those emotions come up, feeling them, and then letting them go, letting them dissipate. But not to say that they won't come back, because they might, and that's just part of life. Um, excuse me, just reviewing my notes so I stay on topic. So in the process of analyzing what I was feeling, I was able to gain immense compassion and forgiveness for his demons. It wasn't even my life that he was affecting. It was his life. And by removing himself from my life, I think at age 13, it shows me that he was not trying to fuck me up. That he wasn't malicious. He wasn't trying to put me in a bad way. It's just he didn't know how to deal with his emotions. He went to AA. He was sober for I think the longest time in my life was a year. So he tried. But at the same time, the culture that he grew up in, the era in time that he grew up in, bred him to be this hardened person that doesn't do that. That doesn't deal with emotions or anything like that. Oh, I can hear my son right now. So heart melting. But yeah. And so another extremely profound moment. This was the last one. I think it was maybe 4 grams. It was nighttime. I was by myself. Some awesome people tossed me a bag. And I was like, word, thank you. If you know who you are, love you. But yeah, and I munched them. And it was so crazy. The mushrooms kept taking me in my dad's body as he was dying. So time and space are kind of fucked up. The time-space continuum is a little wonky when you get into 4 grams isn't even that much, but still I was in his body as he was dying. Even though it was a month or so prior, this was the moment that his death occurred. Even though it was 2 days ago, it's kind of hard to explain, but I was there with him in the future. Hey. Hey. Hey, puppy. Can you say hi?
Hi.
You want some water?
333.
Yeah, I'm grateful my dad got to meet this little guy. See him a few more times before he bounced. What are you guys doing? Okay. Yeah, so he was pretty fucking crazy. He was in his bed, and basically I was in his mind. We were there together in his mind, and I felt my body, his body, just shutting down, and
Come on.
what's up, Papa?
And you want more water?
The fear built up within him, and in turn that made me a little bit nervous. So at first I would open my eyes, no, I'm not trying to see that. But as soon as I would rest and go back into that state, the mushrooms would take me back there again. So I thought, okay, perhaps this is something that I gotta do. I just gotta be strong at this point. And
Libby, jumping jacks, workout.
it was
You.
Mike wanted.
Alright, quiet.
can you guys go back inside?
Yeah, sorry. I
Family.
just was trying to take acid outside.
Sorry. But just trying to think. Oh yeah. So he was telling me, he's like, I'm scared. I don't want to die. I'm not ready for this. But I was like, Pop, you know that you set yourself up for this your entire life. You told me that he told us that he didn't want to be resuscitated. As soon as he lost his ability to walk, he was good to go. But in that moment, all this fear came up, this resistance. And I was just there kind of holding space saying, this is the path you chose. In all honesty, you don't really have much going on here in life. You did your deed. You got me, my brother, my sister here. And we're kicking ass in what we're doing. We're all successful. And it was just like this weird moment of understanding. It was very beautiful. And I felt this like white light bathe over both of us. And a big old sense of relief. Almost like an orgasm, but less sexual. It was obviously like after you come out of the flu or some kind of gnarly disease and you feel all better again and healthy. It was kind of like that. And that was just really profound for me. I never told him about that experience, simply because at that point he was already on painkillers. I don't think that he was on morphine at that point, but he was on painkiller, like heavy. What do they call it? It's like a form of heroin, I believe, and it was in the form of a patch, and they put it on him. So he was already fucked up, and he was drinking, and so he wasn't in the state to hear what I'm conveying to you. But that's okay, because I know his higher self was developing. In that moment, we built this strong connection, and I really feel that prepared him for him passing in his sleep, just ever so gracefully, painlessly as possible. So yeah, that also laid the groundwork for our psychic connection. So anyone that you love and know, you have a psychic connection with them. It may be at varying degrees, but it's there, whether you want to admit it or not. There might be things like you're thinking about the same food that you want to eat or something like that. But when I went on these journeys with his soul, it was like our psychic connection developed even higher. So now when I close my eyes or I'm in a meditative state and I hear his voice, I know that's his higher self. Or when I hear someone else speak and it's not really them, it's him, I know that they're a channel. It's not like a factual thing, it's not like A plus B equals C, 1, 2, 3. It's just a knowing. It's a beautiful thing. Not too long after that, I can't remember what the fuck I was saying. I think it was about me dealing with like, I'll be real. I got a jealous streak in me. I'm working on it. But as I was going to bed, I was in this meditative state. I was talking about that, and my dad came in and he's like, you ain't got to worry about that. He's like, you got it going on. And I was laughing because like that's exactly the shit he would say. And it's great. It's great. I'm so happy I did those journeys focused on him so that I built a connection. I built a relationship with him in the higher realms. And so I feel him even here right now. Like he's tripping out on me right now. He always has. but he's always been grateful too for who I am. So yeah, if you got a loved one that's passing, go deep. You don't have to eat mushrooms with them, but you could do it with them in mind, and you'll make that connection. My I look up to him like a mentor. Baba Kalindi Iyi. You could follow him on Facebook. He's on the gram too. He does blog talks. Fucking highly intelligent man who navigates 30-gram doses of psilocybin mushrooms, and I first discovered him through this woman, Kai Wingo. Unfortunately, she's passed too, and that was really weird because I was like, "Fuck yeah!" There's like she wrote this article and did a speech about why the psychedelic culture is predominantly white, male based, and I was all about it. Being a person of color, when I recognized that there's hardly any people of color, it just comes to my mind like what's going on here. And so when I see a melanated woman bringing that to the forefront, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's what's up. So Kai Wingo, look her up if you haven't heard of her before. Rest in power, Kai. Shout out to you. I can't wait to see you and connect with you one day in the ethers, in the higher realms. But okay, so she brought my attention. Hey, baby. She brought my attention. She was a psilocybian, as I like to say, and she started this movement in the Ohio area, growing shrooms, not necessarily psilocybin, but I think shiitake, and she was just bringing the community together. It was badass, and she fucking died. She was on a 30-day fast, and she died, bro. She died. I was devastated. It was like, it still makes me emotional thinking about it. Because that was she was such a beautiful person for the community. Anyway, through her, I discovered Baba Kalindi. And so this this guy, he does, like I said, 30-gram dosages, and he gets up there. And I remember him after he came back from Oaxaca, sitting with the grandmothers, whose culture that is, the mushrooms, the cloud forest of Oaxaca, to pick those mushrooms and eat them, with the datura, the smoke in the room. Anyway, he was saying he was able to sit with Kai, and he hugged her, like, wow. To go that deep into the multiverse, to not only see and hear your loved ones, but to fucking feel them, that's powerful. So I don't know, I just wanted to share that little tidbit with y'all. Anyone listening, anyone that might hop on later and catch the replay, that's just one more reason to explore the higher doses, to connect with your loved ones on a higher level. And I know I'm going to be seeing my daddy again. Because he's always with me. So when I enter that higher state, he's going to be right there. Right here. Know what I mean? And he's going to be like, what's up? I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting to see you in this state. So yeah. I'm ever so grateful for those psychedelic mushrooms and the way they connect us with the higher dimensions, the astral realm. One other thing that I thought was really profound was when we were having a psychic conversation. He said, you know, the reason I drank was to deal with my excuse me, my inability to process emotions. So he grew up in the Bronx, New York, and from what he told me, it's just kind of like a survival type situation where, you know, there was a lot of fighting, but also they were poor, so there was a lot of working real hard to get what you need, and being cutthroat, you know, not giving a fuck about people who in your community simply because you want to get what's yours. And it was very survival of the fittest. And mi abuelo, he grew up pretty poor too in Puerto Rico. I think he lost his, or no, that was mi abuela. She lost her parents at a young age, so she was hardened too. My entire life, my abuela never gave me love. She gave me shit for not for not being fluent in Spanish, but she was never really like loving. And I think that's the way my dad grew up, never really feeling that love from his parents. Always getting hit up the side of the head, you know, and it's like that's a low key form of abuse. You know, he got hit a lot, and he never really figured how to deal with that. He never learned how to process his angry child self. So he went to drugs and drinking. So he told me that. And I was like, okay. I got a lot more compassion. You know, I'm not even, I mean, you know, my inner child might have a little more anger that I got to work through, but at this point, I don't really feel angry. I just understand that that's the cards he's been dealt. And he's going to come back, figure it out, and be, you know, living a way better life. So yeah, he told me that and he wasn't ever able to address that in his entire life. Even in his moments of sobriety, he was never able to understand. I don't think he was able to understand that. Maybe he said that to my brother or my mom, but to me in our conversations, it was really hard for him to go to the root of why he drank. I tried. I definitely tried to get in there and try to bring some things up, but by the time I came around, it was too late. Basically, I don't want to say too late, but for him in this situation, yeah, it was too late. I tried, and you know, it is what it is. Like I said, my hope now is that, I mean, he already said that to me. His higher self already said to me why he drank his whole life. So my hope now is that his higher self is processing these things, and when he comes back, if he comes back, he'll be ready to deal with his past life baggage openly and in a healthy way. So yeah, let's see what else we got here. So yeah, I just want to wrap it up by saying death seems really shitty sometimes. It's fucking hard, especially when you see the life not in that body that you once loved and cared for. I mean, you still love and care for it, but it's not even the love and care for that body so much as it is the spirit that possesses that body. And so, yeah, it seems really shitty in the moment, but in retrospect, it's rebirth. The soul is shedding weight. The soul is shedding weight, and it's healing. whatever baggage that person had in this life, they're going to release it. They're going to go out into their astral body, do their thing, maybe come back down, and they might have some residual past life karma, but it won't be nearly as bad as that first life where they, or not first life, but the previous life where they experience all that negative shit. So, you know, if you have someone dying right now, or if you know someone that just passed, that it's really hard for you to understand, like, why, you know, if there is a God, why would you fucking take that person from me, you know? They could have been your silver lining. They could have been that person that is your reason for being happy in life. But, you know, that person is still with you despite not being in that body anymore. So don't ever forget that. They're still with you. They still love you. And they want the best for you. They do. They do. So, cheers to everybody, anyone that came on, anyone that's going to be watching this in the future. I'm sending you love on whatever part of the journey you're on. And hopefully this gives you a different perspective on death. And hopefully you might be interested in utilizing the psilocybin mushrooms. You don't have to. Like I said in the beginning, all roads lead home. This is just one way that works really well for me, and it might work really well for you. So keep it in mind. I wish you the best. Love you. If you want to learn how to grow mushrooms, hit me up, hit your brother up. I got a private video on deck waiting for you to learn how to grow them at your house. Peacefully, in the privacy and safety of your own home. No one has to fucking know. It's super discreet. And you can start going on your own journeys, laying down the foundation for these higher dose journeys. If that is your calling. All right.